Hey, I'm Candid Frank Stanisci of Candid Frank Live, where you'll find us airing our views on the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate, leave, comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now on Candid Frank Live, joining me as usual is Aaron William Freeland. Hey, Aaron, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Frank. How are you?
So my spies tell me there was an event that we talked about, and you, being the modest guy that you are, didn't talk about the incredible way you tended goal at the event. So I heard you were awesome.
Oh,
Aaron
Gary's
was
telling stories out of
awesome.
school again, isn't he?
Absolutely. You know exactly what's telling on you. Yeah, no, that I'm really proud of you, and I'm glad you did well, at least in your teammates' minds, because that's really all that matters, right? Who cares what the enemy thinks?
Exactly.
I guess that's somewhat another opinion spoken. I
Well,
guess Aaron wasn't that good in that.
no, it was a great tournament. We had a lot of fun with it. So that's money was raised for charity, beers were drank, parking lots were sullied. It was fantastic.
Somehow I get the feeling, and I understand you guys won the award for the longest lasting party.
Yeah, both on the Friday and the Saturday night.
Ooh, clean sweep.
So, yep.
All right. And you didn't make a mess.
Nope. That's the most
Good for you,
important
man.
part.
Good for you. Look, there's nothing better than on a summer, in summer weather, it makes traveling easier, makes being outside even easier. And the real problem is the pop goes down too easily when, when it's warm outside.
Oh, there was far too much soda consumed. Far, far, far too much.
And you know what? We had another barbecue today, and I went, and this is not meant to sell Costco to people, but we picked up some Costco steaks. My friends in Halifax turned me on to them, because I thought they were always a little too expensive at Costco. But I bought a nice, almost $40 worth. Aaron, melt in your mouth, baby.
Oh, some of their steaks are absolutely fantastic. Season them up and marinate them up right, and they're wonderful. Everybody likes to bag on them because it's bulk, but
Uh,
man,
no, no, no,
oh,
no. I get the sleeve. I don't get the bag. And I got to say this too. It doesn't hurt while you're cooking to stay cool with a pop. And then you
exactly.
eat the steak with another pop. I'm beginning to wonder whether the steak was any good at all, actually. Not really sure. Not anymore. I just talked myself out of the Costco steaks. No, anyway, all kidding aside, it was nice. This is the kind of weather that we want to enjoy. And, stuff like this is fantastic. Enjoying your summer, folks. Get out there, have some fun, spend some time outside, get on the barbecue. And if a pop is what you want to have, or you want to do it pinky style with some vino, you can do that as well. We do not discriminate here on Candid Frank Live and at the Aaron household. Uh, we relax at every level, different ways for different strokes. It doesn't matter for even those that tokes. Wait a minute, I just made that up.
Well done, sir.
I just made that up. That was stupid. All right, but anyway, it's legal now, right? Okay, good. Just want to make sure. All right, let's start with, well, as usual, the Canadian Football League, and I watched that football game last night.
Oh,
Man,
what did you think?
oh man, are the Blue Bombers unbeatable or what?
Having a 21-point fourth quarter, I think might have had something to do with it.
Just slightly.
Uh, you know, their ability to pull it out when the chips are down is something that's always fascinated me. I mean, they were tied at the end of the third quarter with of all teams the Montreal Alouettes. You know, and this is one of those potential trap games that you're playing, just based on the
Absolutely.
disparity in records. And I'm just glad that they did. Dalton Shane and Rashid Bailey. Both caught touchdowns, while Brady Oliveira added 92 yards and a touchdown and 17 carries, along with 3 picks. Montreal's defense also had 3 sacks and a fumble recovery. So it's even on both sides of the bar. It just turns out, the Montreal offense just wasn't where it needed to be.
They were saying, in at least in some of the home bases of the of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They're saying Andrew Harris, who? Oliveira was incredible last week. He ran for 92 yards. Last night he made some great plays. They were going to him repeatedly. Yep, the Blue Bombers are for real, folks. This could be, we could be in the middle of watching the Edmonton Eskimos of the 80s. You know, it could be that kind of historical world that we're being visited upon. And the neat thing is, to see it actually happen and how each step, we're sitting here, and I know if you're not rooting for Winnipeg, they are making it look, they're converting even the least likely to appreciate what they've done. You can't help but suggest that. And then Caleros, 25-2 in his last 27 games.
An absolutely fantastic record that he's managed to put together. So
I had Bob Bertina, former mayor of of Hamilton, and he's going again. He wants to be mayor again, and he was talking about that story. He says one of the greatest stories ever told, and he said it had a lot to do, with basically undoing a Hamilton jinx, which Caleros did. He mentioned leaving there, and another guy who's a coach in Montreal, who has a lot of history. Same thing, lacked success in Hamilton, moved on to Montreal via the U.S. actually. But anyway, so a great quarterback. The Argos let him slip through their fingers. To this day, it's one move I just didn't understand. They didn't even give him a shot, didn't even try. And he wanted to be here. His wife is from Toronto, so there was lots of motivation to have him stay here. Another story that keeps on ticking is, as I mentioned, Caleros, shown the receiver for Winnipeg. He is amazing. His first year, he's lights out, one of the best receivers in the Canadian Football League at this time.
Yeah, and you know what? 5 of his 6 touchdowns were in July, which helped contribute to him being named one of the players of the month, along with Zach Caleros and Jalen Acklin of the Ottawa Red Blacks.
The Argo hater.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at Schoen's 19 receptions for 367 yards and 11 second down conversions. That is a remarkable success rate over these past 4 games, man. That's pretty awesome.
Sure is. The Stampeders coach Dickinson remains in COVID protocol. He's hoping to test negative by the time the game time arrives.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. But I mean, Huffnagel said that he's going to be on the sidelines in a support role. As many people know, Huffnagel was actually the coach in Calgary from 2008 to 2015. Now, Dickinson didn't travel to Ottawa, but he's expected to rejoin the team next week. So we'll have to see what happens there.
Well, he's hoping to be there at game time. Wish him all the best. Hope he does. It's always, this is the kind of stuff you don't want affecting any team, even if they're a team that you're not rooting for. The Toronto Argonauts inked 3 players, including a quarterback. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah,
dun,
this
dun,
is
dun, dun.
This is one of those things. Well, I think they also had a quarterback retire recently, correct?
Absolutely.
So they signed.
They got 4 quarterbacks in camp for sure.
Yeah, and they've signed Ben Holmes. They've also signed defensive lineman Brandon Barlow and another receiver Jeremiah Haydel. All 3 of those are Americans. Now, Holmes was the 4th overall selection in the USFL draft by the New Jersey Generals in 2022, but he broke his foot in training camp, so he didn't have an opportunity there. He spent his training camp with Montreal before being signed with the Elks last month. So,
well, I got to tell you, Emmanuel has the hands, and he has a very big arsenal. Arsenal.
Shoehorning it in there, are you?
Oh, just trying, but good for him. 600 passes, man. Received.
Definitely. I mean, I thought it was an interesting decision when he was signed by the Elk in the off season, so that was interesting. He was signed at the same time that Bowman was. So the interesting thing about those two is you add their ages together, and they're both 5 years past retirement age.
But a great player nonetheless. He has really over the winter, he must have drank out of the fountain of youth.
Yeah, he's had 603 receptions so far. He's 26 overall on the CFL's all-time list. So kudos to him for that.
We got some games coming up. Calgary's in Ottawa.
This should be interesting. You've got teams with, teams headed in opposite directions, basically. I mean, sure, Ottawa had their first big win against Toronto this weekend, but they're looking to build on it when the Stampeders come to town. But again, you're looking at the Stampeders without Dickinson behind the bench. You're also looking to them without one of their other players. Whatchamacallit? You're looking Carey's also out for the Stampeders.
Easy for you to say.
Well, I know, right? Geez, I'm tripping over my own tongue here. I'm going to try to say it's Kadeem Carey's currently out. So, it's a hamstring injury. He's on the 1-game IL, which means he won't be appearing tonight.
Calgary is licking their wounds, hoping for the best. And the Ticats are in Toronto, where last time they came into town, it was an amazing experience worth forgetting.
Yeah, there was a lot of kicks in that game, if I recall correctly.
And there was a lot of fighting, and there was a lot of fan-player interaction, not the kind that we're accustomed to in the Canadian Football League. Yeah. Well, hopefully this one here will be all argued on the field, within the rules and in between the whistles.
Well, that's the hope. I mean, emotions normally run high for this thing because they're our nearest and clearest rival. So
then you got your Edmonton and BC.
Now, these are two teams that are again almost directly opposite records. Edmonton's 2-5 and BC is 5-1. You're still looking at the fairy tale story of work at BC against the Elk. So we'll have to see how they stack up against each other. I'm actually kind of looking forward to this one, believe it or not.
So last year they were neighbors in the standings. Sorry, Aaron, I didn't mean to over there. I'm just saying that last year they were neighbors in the standings.
Yeah.
Not so much this year.
Nope.
Yeah. Let's go to Hockey Canada.
Right. So there's a whole bunch of doings and transpiring.
Oh, boy.
There. Hockey Canada has actually tapped a former Supreme Court justice to lead the review into their governance. They actually hired Supreme Court Justice Thomas Cromwell to lead a review into the organization's governance structure. A lot of people are calling for a lot of folk to be fired, justifiably so, I believe, based on the amount of stuff that appears to have been swept under the rug. At the same time, 13 different provincial hockey federations have been asking for more information from them, or they're not going to pay their dues, which would be another financial blow to Hockey Canada. It's 10 provincial and 3 territorial federations have a December 1st deadline to make dues payments, but they're saying, we're asking for a detailed action plan and a meeting before the end of November to address our concerns. If these conditions aren't met, then you won't be getting paid. So
yeah, Hockey Canada, when it comes to this situation, has all been all about do's or don'ts. The NHL, the Flames, what's up with them, Aaron?
Well, one of the players that they picked up recently for losing Johnny Gaudreau is Jonathan Huberdeau, who's actually signed an 8-year contract extension with the Calgary Flames worth $84 million. So that's a nice chunk of change for him there.
That's Austin Matthews money.
Yeah, pretty much. They're going to hope that he's continuing to get better. The big increase in his salary doesn't actually kick in until 2026, 2027, when the cap is expected to jump by another $5 to $10 million. So that's good news for them. By the end of it, he'll be down to making $5 million a year in signing bonuses and $5.5 million in salary.
Calgary's AHL team is moving home, if you will.
Yep. For years, they've been dealing with the Stockton Heat out in California. This made things difficult for them during the AHL when everybody was locked out by COVID for playing games as well. So they are actually planning on moving the team A up to Calgary and B changing the name to the Wranglers. So in May, the move was
Calgary
approved.
friendly, right?
Exactly.
Friendly. Excellent. Yamamoto has signed with Edmonton. I'm looking at also. I'm in shock here. Kevin Lowe retires. Go ahead. Go with
So
Yamamoto.
So let's start with Kyler. He just turned 23. He's signed a 2-year deal worth approximately $6.2 million. Last season, he had 41 points, which was a career high. Played in 81 games, had 20 goals and 21 assists. He also had 7 points in 14 playoff games in the Oilers' run to the Western Conference Finals. So that went a long way towards him getting a new deal. He was a first-round draft pick in 2017. So far, he's had 40 goals and 53 assists in 186 career games. He, along with Jesse Puljujarvi, were one of the questions when it came to actually getting re-signed. Puljujarvi recently signed a 1-year show-me deal with them, and Kyler's now got himself a 2-year extension. So good on that. And yeah, further to your point, Edmonton Oilers legend Kevin Lowe is actually finally hanging them up.
I was looking at that, but the reason I tripped over it is I'm going, man, he spent a lot of time in the press box. It's been a while since he's been on the ice.
It is. I mean, he just recently turned 63. So I think it was him sitting down with his spouse and looking at all the places they wanted to go and all the things that they still had to do. And he just sort of realized, I spent so much time with this team that I haven't been able to do the things that I want to do. So he's still going to be involved with them in their ambassador program. But
Good.
yeah, he'll be stepping away from the front office.
Here, on a sad note, not really making it to the Leafs, but a very treasured player for the Marlies. Rich Clune retires.
Yeah. So after a rather long career, 16 pro seasons, he's at 35, decided that he's going to retire and join the Leafs hockey office in the training department under assistant general manager Dr. Haley Wickenheiser. So Dickey's been the Marlies captain since 2020, 2021. Recently finished up just his 3-year deal with them after winning the Calder Cup in 2017, 2018. He actually had an independent film released. Also had a documentary called My Name is Dickie come out about him. He's looking to expand his horizons at this point. Recently got engaged. So yeah, for a guy that's played 16 pro seasons with over 2,500 plus penalty minutes, I can think of no better spot for him than in player development.
We're going to still talk about this Deshaun Watson thing, the six game suspension.
Well, here's the thing: the NFL was trying to condition it was trying to get the arbitrator to give him a year by saying we expect nothing less than a 1 year, and the arbitrator came back with 6 games. So now the NFL has to appeal it and override the auditor. This is basically brinksmanship and gamesmanship is what's going on here. The NFL was basically told, look, you got a 1-year suspension. We'd like to see a 1-year suspension. And the auditor said, yeah, we're not going to give him a 1-year suspension. Now's your chance to try to get in front of us and do something about it.
So, what's the explanation to justify the 6 games as opposed to what the NFL wants in a year?
That was unfortunately not detailed in the information that I've seen from the auditor. But, as it currently stands, Robinson's judgment on this is based on the other individuals, I guess, in similar circumstances. So
arbitration is a funny bird.
It's a really odd thing. I never understood it.
Well, there's an appeal process, and in this case, usually we're accustomed to the appeal process saying the player feels that he's been suspended for too many games. This one here is it's the opposite direction. You've got the league saying, no, we want him to be punished a little harder. Now, the question is, how hard set is the NFL with making him prolong his suspension? Or is this just a great opportunity for them to say, you know what I'm getting at, is that it looks good. The optics are really good if they're going with the socially people on one side of the equation saying, yeah, you go in there and you go get them some more. I don't think 6 games is enough based on the repetitive nature of his behavior. Mind you, those are only charges, and you know how I feel about charges. They're great and they should be heard. but let's make sure that we also consider evidence as far as guilt is concerned. But still, this is a situation where a lot of people complained about him, and I guess you could say where there's smoke, there's fire. But then again, just be sure. Let's go over to basketball, and my goodness. Now, I wanted to mention something first. There's a man in jail in Russia who's been in jail for 14 years for pretty much what she's in jail for now. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Understandable. Now, is that an American basketball superstar, or is he a Russian citizen?
No, just an ordinary human being.
Okay. And the other thing that's working at this point here is the Russians are actually trying to bank on a prisoner exchange. So they figured that by putting a public figure like Brittany Griner in jail for 9 to 9.5 years, they'll be able to encourage the states to give them a swap, which would include a well-known arms dealer. So that's the other part of this equation that we're looking at here. I understand Griner had a letter stating that she needed the substances that she was found with for pain control and medical purposes. But at the same time, you have to be aware that when you're in a foreign country, just because you will have a letter from your doctor saying that it's okay and it's legal in the States does not mean it's anywhere close to being legal in Russia. So that's the other part of it that you're looking at here. But again, there's a lot of political games going on.
But Aaron, isn't it true also? It's not just outside the U.S., it's within the states when you cross the state line.
Yep. No.
Right.
And some places in the States have legalized, other have not.
Right. Let's not forget that. It's not an issue. It's not a Russian issue. See, I disagree with you a little bit. I think they have a net cast. That is Russia. Their legal system has a net cast. And I don't think they're zeroing in on Brittany Griner. I think they just know there's going to be an American who makes a mistake, and they'll make sure that America knows they got him. That's, I think, how it works more than anything. It's basically, I think she was, like a police officer waiting at the bottom of a hill with a speed trap. You know, they know they're going to nail somebody, right? I don't think it was because they were looking for a woman, or they were looking for a black woman, or they were looking for a black woman that's a basketball player. They were just looking for an American. That's good enough for them. What worked in their favor is that because she was a black woman, because she was a basketball player, the people in North America are a little more sensitive to the black issues today. We know what black people have been through, and we're very sensitive about it. And whenever a black person is being treated unjustly, right, we don't look at it comparatively and say, well, is there somebody white being treated the same way? Folks, it isn't about them ignoring the white person. It's about the intense nature of how black people have been treated for many years. And now this is a reaction where you have a lot of powerful people, a lot of loud voices who make a lot of noise. And within months, people are screaming to get her out while there's someone else in jail that's been there for 14 years. That's not a negative comment on my part. It's just the way it is. Right now, the sensitivity level is very high for black people who are being abused.
And again, political experts have been saying for weeks now that the real purpose of the trial was to paint a veneer of legitimacy on the Kremlin's desire to hold on to her until it could extract concessions out of the United States for her return.
I assume you know the percentage of charges that lead to conviction in Russia. Did you hear the number?
I believe it's 110%.
No. Stop. It's actually 99 point something. So that gives you an indication of, boy, the police are very good there. They really know how to get people. It's the police that do such a good job. All right. So in track, Canada's Damian Warner, gutted with how his quest for a world decathlon title ended. Sad story here, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, he would love to have been at Hayward there, but he was in an MRI machine during some of the final events, just basically because of an injury. His first world decathlon title attempt ended with a hamstring injury in the 400 meters. So there really wasn't anything that could be done about it at that point. He'd hurt himself, and there wasn't a way for him to continue. And it's devastating because this is, I think, one of the first times he's been able to compete for a decathlon in what is almost home soil, because it's in North America this time. and he
Yeah.
was unable to finish. So
Let's talk about the MSL. Confusion takes over in Brooklyn Peterborough MSL semifinal series.
yeah, this is an interesting situation. Um, the way the way it's played out so far, Brooklyn has 2 wins, um, but they're not actually really sure who's currently leading after 3 games here, because during game 2 they won 11-10 in double overtime.
And
But the OLA said, "Hey, we're awarding game 2 of the series, which Brooklyn won 12-10 on Tuesday. We're not giving that win to Brooklyn. We're giving it to Peterborough." And the reason was apparently Brooklyn assistant coach Gavin Prout, who had been thrown out of game 1, should have also been hit with a suspension, which was forcing him to miss the next 3 games.
oh, so he
So,
coached, and
yep,
they lost the game because of it.
he was on the bench for game 2, which they won by 2 goals, 12-10. The Lakers appealed, and the OLA said, "Yeah, you're right." But at the same time, Brooklyn management is also appealing the decision, based on post-game events that caused confusion to the type of penalty assessed. So Brooklyn head coach Jason Crosby said, "We wouldn't have put Prouter on the bench if we'd known that he was suspended. Um, our team earned that win on the floor. Prouter didn't have anything to do with that. He didn't play. He didn't score a goal. He didn't make a pass. He didn't play defense. So, voiding the game because he was on the bench because we were not clearly advised by the OLA that he was actually supposed to be suspended for 3 games, after getting booted in game 1 is unfair." So,
Well, here's how I feel about that. Missile Lacrosse League.
oh,
My head is now blown. It's blown. I don't
it's
know if
a horror show.
I don't know if I can carry on. Well, that's a crazy story and one that's understandable as far as both parties. But I think what it comes down to is that if you have an ineligible player playing a game, it can cause you the game. And I don't think, Aaron, between you and I don't think a coach is any different.
Well, it all depends on the decisions that the coach makes, right? I mean, his decision to call over a goalie at the end of the game to try to force an extra goal, or putting out a certain set of players can definitely influence the way that the game goes.
Everything that he did. If he was legitimately suspended and told he couldn't come out the next game, then the rules are the rules. But if he wasn't told, then the rules aren't the rules. And if the rules aren't the rules and they don't exist, so this is gonna this is gonna go into the late hours of the evening, Aaron. Late hours of the evening. This is going to
Oh
be
yeah.
they may end up having to replay that game, buddy. That's what I
You
see.
know what? If Brooklyn registers a protest and says and declare that they played the game under protest and they disagree and are appealing the ruling and won't continue the series until this issue is resolved, that's potentially the way that it could go. So
Totally. Wow. I
yeah,
always knew that lacrosse was exciting, but this is a
this
different.
is just nutty.
It's totally nutty. Let's talk about tennis and Rafael Nadal.
Right. So Rafael Nadal has withdrawn from the Canadian Open. He's said he was suffering from an injury. He said, I sincerely thank the tournament director, Eugene, and his entire team for their understanding and support. I hope to play again in Montreal, a tournament that I love and that I've won 5 times in front of an audience that has always welcomed me with great affection. But he apparently sustained the injury during his 5-set win over Taylor Fritz in the quarterfinals, but only after he needed a medical timeout to take anti-inflammatories. By skipping the Canadian Open here, this gives Rafa a chance to recover a little bit before the U.S. Open. Now, another notable figure that won't be participating in the Open this weekend is Novak Djokovic. His vaccination status has not allowed him to enter Canada because he has chosen not to take a vaccine. He's just finished off his 4th consecutive Wimbledon final in June, but he's already missed multiple tournaments this year because of his decision not to be vaccinated, including the Indian Wells Masters, the Miami Open, and the Australian Open. He is still hoping that they'll make an exception for him because of his name for the U.S. Open in late August. But at this point here, because the rules are still in place and they haven't relaxed those criteria yet, it looks unlikely. The first round of the U.S. Open is August 10th. and Daniel Medvedev is the reigning champion.
In tennis in Canada, Ogier Aliassime wins in straight sets to advance to the Los Cabos Open semifinals.
Yeah, he's having a really good run in Mexico, so this is absolutely awesome. He beat Steve Johnson 6-4, 7-6 to move on to the semifinals. He hit 17 aces in that game against Johnson, which was cool. He's ranked 9th in the world and second seeded in the tournament. He also beat Alex Hernandez on Wednesday after getting a bye into the round of 16. So he's either going to be facing Cameron Norrie or Radu Albat on Friday for a spot in the final. That'll be going later this evening.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's talk about baseball. The Blue Jays, Hernandez Guerrero homer as Blue Jays beat the Twins 9-3, a team that's been giving them trouble recently.
Yeah, this was actually, I don't know if you happened to catch some of the game, but the Jays absolutely blew it wide open in the 8th inning. Scored 6 runs to make it 9-2. Really nice to see that it wasn't all long bombs. It was just a succession of small ball and getting players on base and advancing runners and that sort of thing. It was nice to have Vladdy and Teoscar cap it off with homers. That was great. But Springer was actually in the DH role after missing 3 games with an elbow injury.
Yeah, I hope he's feeling well. The number there that is most important in my mind is the 3, not the 9. I know you're happy with all the runs they scored. The Jays need to straighten out their pitching. The moves that they made over the trade deadline, they need to work. They need pitching that can hold back the opposition. Because quite frankly, they can't score 9 runs every game. They can score 29, but they can't score nine runs every game.
And that's the thing. Alek Manoah was having some issues as well in the mid innings. So I mean, I'm glad he made it through.
He's playing injured. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, there is definitely some sort of hitch in his giddy up for sure.
Yeah,
it doesn't look like himself.
They cannot lose him. In my mind, he is not only the stopper of tomorrow, I think he's the stopper of today. Blue Jays Whit Merrifield clears up concerns over vaccination status. The Jays traded for a guy who isn't vaccinated. At first blush, Aaron, it sounds kind of what?
Yeah, well, I mean, they were looking for a utility player, I think, and they found a guy I think that they thought could help them the most. They got him right at the buzzer in exchange for Samad Taylor and Max Castillo. He missed the series in Toronto in July, but had said, "Look, if it comes down to it, and you guys trade me to a contender, I'll get vaccinated." So apparently the Blue Jays are considered a contender in his eyes. So when they picked him up at the deadline, he went out and got himself vaccinated.
Good for him. All right. Yeah. So let's go over to news. The feds are silent on enforcement as national long-term care standards get final tweaks. We know that the aged in homes were top of the list of problems during COVID. This raises that issue to make sure that they are no longer as prone as they were in 2020.
Yeah, Jagmeet Singh recently has actually been trying to put pressure on the government to reveal information about it, saying we want to see action. We need to see that standard of care be legislated, and we want to see that implemented as quickly as possible. Health Minister Jean-Yves Duclos has said, look, we're not going to say anything at this point in time as to whether or not we're going to table something for the House of Commons when it starts sitting again next month. We are currently working on something. There's $3 billion that was set aside in 2021 to help provinces and territories implement standards that they're planning on bringing in. But as it currently stands right now, they're being mum on it. There should be something coming out in the next week or 2 weeks or so. We'll keep an eye out for that if anything pops up.
In the U.S., gas prices have been going steadily down. In fact, 40 days straight, the price has gone down. In Canada, please define for us what gas prices could snap back violently means.
Well, the problem is that we have had prices going down, and they are actually set to go down, I think, another 6 to 7 cents at midnight tonight. But the problem is it's hard to. There is a possibility that this price holiday that we're kind of enjoying right now might not last that long, which is what they're saying.
Okay.
So
So fill up your
short
gas.
short term gain, we're going down to about 168 a liter. Um, so fill up if you can, because chances are it's going to pop again, and it's going to go even higher than it was
This
before.
is crazy,
Uh,
these gas
yeah.
prices. And another thing, I don't know if you have it here in the stories that you want to cover. There is the fact that Canada is becoming very aggressive in providing oil for the rest of the world, and apparently our crude, um, even though it's not the cleanest stuff, is becoming very popular around the world. Our heavy
Well,
crude.
and that is a concern as well, because what about domestic supply for us? Sure, I
Right.
think it's great that these companies are making great profits and employing people and sending it all over the world, but we still need gas too. So
I said
that's
that
the
for a
other
reason
thing.
because that snapback that you're talking about
Yeah.
might happen because all of a sudden the production available to Canada, as far as Canadian oil is concerned, could dry up. And we know what happens. We learn all the time. When more people need gas and more gas is needed, more have to pay.
Now,
Let's.
here's an interesting thing. Sorry, before we continue on here, for quarter two of 2022, Suncor was reporting profits of $3.99 billion. Now, this is uh, a huge gain over last year's quarter two, and that $3.99 billion actually represents a 400% increase over earnings
So the
from the
price of
previous year.
oil or of gas is set correctly. He said so.
No,
He
we're getting gouged.
Yeah, we're getting pumped.
Yep.
There you
Taking
go.
it up the tailpipe.
Okay. A hot, dry August to sustain wildfires, especially in southern BC, says forecast. God, I don't want to see more wood burn because when it burns, that creates more carbon monoxide and then it becomes a vicious circle.
Yeah, and I mean this wildfire forecast comes as the Okanagan Similkameen Regional District is trying to evacuate people from the community of Olalla, about 40 kilometers south of Penticton. This has been a tough summer. There are 149 new wildfires in BC over the past week. 149 new fires. They don't. There's not enough manpower to deal with this. There's not enough equipment to deal with this. It's an absolutely unbelievable situation that they're facing here, and the weather is getting worse. And it's not just. The fact of the matter is, this is climate change. This is what it does. You get more extreme temperatures during the summer. You get more extreme temperatures during the winter.
Absolutely. Well, it is what it is. Vancouver. Um, the mayor says feds in BC need to step up funding for homeless. I get the funding, but I just wish there was a way to help them get on. I don't know if you can, bring them on in, to society in a way that is more. I don't know. I just don't like seeing people sleep on the street. But for some people, it appears, at least some people imply that that's the way they want it. It's like a choice. I don't know if it's a choice, Aaron. I mean,
Well, I mean, there was a safety order issued last month to remove tents and structures on the downtown east side, and that was actually supposed to actually be cleared out by Wednesday. Mayor Kennedy Stewart of Vancouver said that since the order, the city had increased resources for those living on the street, but while the city is assembling these supports, the operations require significant investments from senior levels of government. He spoke with the BC Housing Minister, Murray Rankin, about how the city and province can coordinate their approaches to connecting unsheltered residents to housing. He's also reached out for additional urgent housing funding. Again, the problem that we have here is that rental prices in Vancouver are so high, the city can't necessarily pay for these houses for the homeless to to shelter them and give them homes as opposed to having them living rough. And it's a problem, you know.
Yes.
Unlike hiring nurses and everything like that, uh, and whatnot, that this is something that really does require the assistance of the provincial and the federal governments.
Oh, and it's deeper than financial wherewithal as well. You know, a
Yeah,
lot of it that a lot of the people who live on the street. I'm not an expert in this, Aaron, but I've seen some reports, and I'm not saying that swear by them, but a lot of it has to do with mental illness. You know, and that's what we're talking about are people who are mentally challenged and know no other way to live, can't live another way. So, well, it's not a good look for Canadians and Canada in general because we're a pretty um, I don't want to use the word rich because not that almost oversells the fact that we're a country in good shape. We're a country that is not as needy as many other countries, and seeing people in need is kind of a contradiction that is hard to stomach sometimes for some of us.
yeah, definitely. I mean, we're not hard done by. Put it that way.
Yeah, police arrest driver in early morning Parliament Hill crash.
There was a guy that rammed into the gates outside the legislature at about 3:30 in the morning. Now, an officer was nearby and took the driver into custody without further incident. No criminal charges have been laid yet. It appears to be unrelated to another crash that took place later in that same morning that saw an amphibious tour bus bust into the gates outside 24 Sussex Drive, the official residence of the Prime Minister. So, this is one of those. I'm willing to bet for this particular case here, alcohol was involved.
Good chance.
That's highly likely. As for the amphibious bus crash, that it was a bus co-owned by the Lady Dive Tours.
Medical error.
Well, they're thinking either a mechanical failure or a medical issue, a medical incident.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah.
Newfoundland lawyer accused of sexual assault loses bid for publication ban.
Yeah. So this is one of those cases where he was charged with sexual assault, 4 counts of sexual assault and 1 count of sexual interference. The charges all involve the same complainant, including an incident alleged to have occurred when she was 12 years old. So in light of that, the Supreme Court of Canada said, no, we're not going to let you skulk away under this. We're going to expose you for this. He was first charged with 2 counts of sexual assault and 1 count of sexual interference in May 2021. And these are apparently incidents that are alleged to have taken place between 2002 and 2012, all in or around Conception Bay South.
Suspect who killed 3 in Montreal area represented significant risk to public safety. I assume people who could have stopped him knew there was something wrong with this guy.
Yes. What happened was the suspect, Abdullah Sheikh, he shot 3 people in a 24-hour period. Police had said the suspect had mental health issues, and it appears he chose his victims at random. The Mental Health Review Board, or the Commission d'examen des troubles mentaux, said in March that the suspect's psychiatrist concluded that Sheikh suffered from denial and trivialization of behavioral disorders, violence, and psychiatric pathology. They also said that the psychiatrist found that Sheikh still represents a significant risk to public safety. However, he had shown improvements in the past 6 months, and it was agreed, along with the psychiatrist, that he should remain released under certain conditions. Unfortunately, it seems that things took a turn for the worse for him, and he ended up taking lives and had his life taken as a result.
Gas prices in Toronto are set to drop, Aaron.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. We are looking to see about the lowest rate since February of 2019. Looking at all the way down to approximately a 159.9 by Saturday evening, Sunday morning. So that is a decent sign. But again, as we mentioned earlier in the show, there is also the risk of a snapback. So that is something to be aware of.
Drake's canceled Toronto concert rescheduled for Saturday after negative COVID test, and it's scheduled for 7 p.m. the same time the Argo game. So for those of us going to the Argo game, it's going to be disastrous driving.
Well, as long as you get there early enough, it
Well,
shouldn't be
we do
too
get
much of a
there early
problem.
because we
Um,
want food on the barbecue.
well, I'm going to be tailgating myself, so
Oh, a
that's
lot. If I can get there in time. Of course, I got a 2-hour drive to start coming from here. So yeah, it'll be fun. Again, a reminder: it's summer out there. Get your barbecues going and whatever
yeah.
side beverage you prefer. Enjoy the summer, folks. And if you don't think it's enjoyable here, you can always join Air Canada and fly to your destination. Um, there's a problem with it, from what I understand, with a family of 5.
Yes, there was an international flight that they were supposed to take, leaving at 8:20 a.m. So they got to Pearson at 4:30 for their flight to Costa Rica. When they were advised that Air Canada no longer flies there and has not for the past month or so. Um, Air Canada claims they sent them an email advising them of the situation. The family claims that the email was never received. So
Your spam
unfortunately,
checking
they
your.
were left on their own. They had to try to rebook on the fly,
Oh my gosh.
and Air Canada wouldn't help them getting to another airport to fly out of,
Oh,
or wouldn't offer them food vouchers, nothing like that. Um,
so I guess
you're
they were a prey to the Air Canada airline.
it's
Next,
just not a good situation for them all around.
absolutely. Prey, the movie that is the prequel to Predator. So this is what aliens against dinosaurs.
Um, Not exactly. As most people, who are tapped into science fiction know, the original Predator came out in 1987. Um, the story behind this is it's actually before that. We're going actually all the way back to the 1700s. So
Oh,
we're going back to 1718, 1719.
okay. It's not
Um,
prehistoric times.
no, not prehistoric times. But the significant thing about this is this movie, the entire cast is First Nations and Native Americans,
Oh, cool.
which is unique in cinematic history. No other production, at least in any sort of franchise, has actually done that.
See, and
So,
I was going to say something silly like it's Alien against Robin Hood, but rather it's Alien versus Aboriginals,
yeah,
Native North Americans.
yeah, it's actually aliens against a bunch of Comanche. So
Oh,
that is going to be rather interesting to say the least. For those of you who have, Disney Plus, it is available to stream there already.
oh,
So
oh!
big
It's
ups
not
on that.
theater.
No, I'm going to have a chance to check that out tonight, I think, or maybe tomorrow morning. But yeah, it's fantastic to see them getting the representation that they are. Amber Midthunder is the lead actress who's playing a character by the name of Naru. So I'll be really interested to see where this goes. I have high hopes.
So Alex Jones ordered to pay Sandy Hook parents more than $4 million. Now, that's not damages. That's cost, and now the damages are yet to come, and they're saying the damages are going to be in the 9-figure range.
Yes, the Alex Jones was described as a
Liar?
professional conspiracy theorist by several people. Yeah, I'm sure some of you folks have seen the footage of him realizing his lawyers leaked his entire cell phone and email history,
Should have spent a couple more bucks on his lawyers,
or gotten a VPN.
or
I mean,
or maybe I'm wondering, if you're a lawyer and you're defending this guy, it's like, oops, oops.
I wasn't going to say anything, but had he been a little less of a dick, this might not necessarily have happened. But it is reasonable to posit that the error that his attorneys made may not
Sorry,
necessarily have been an error.
sorry,
Oops.
not so sorry, sorry, not sorry. Well, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. COVID. We only got a couple of minutes, Aaron, left. COVID is what COVID is.
Now we are currently coming out of the seventh wave. As a result of that, Ontario has directed the College of Nurses to register international nurses faster in order to get more nurses into our staffing and medical system. There are cases of nurses who have applied for licenses here from other countries that have been waiting upwards of 8 or 9 months just to get approval to practice. So it's difficult. Um, you know, a lot of folk are upset. The Registered Nurses Association of Ontario and the Ontario Nurses Association are both up in arms about this sort of thing because it's something that could have been addressed months ago.
Well, it's like,
If Mayor Ford, sorry, if Premier Ford had cell service at his cottage.
yeah, they're saying the same thing
So,
about monkeypox, that a lot of people are
yeah.
complaining because, you know, it could have been dealt with a little quicker. But here's the issue: the same has happened with COVID. You find out there's a disease or a virus or some sort of ailment that requires a vaccine. That vaccine has to be created if there isn't one that's already ready to deal with it. So, you know, this is the problem with this kind of stuff. Anyway, hopefully the vaccines will be out there. There are way more people that need the vaccine than vaccines are available. So let's hope that this gets resolved ASAP.
Most definitely.
And for those of you that think that it's only one type of person that gets this, children are getting it because they happen to share the same bed or occupy the same bed for a temporary moment. So, you know, innocent people are being affected by this, regardless of what you consider innocent or not. And that's the part that bothers me about this thing, is that when you have a minority involved, people find it easy to attack them. Anyway. Renaming the Doug Ford urgent care, not so urgent.
Basically, or Doug Ford don't care.
So, real quick, it's amazing how Donald Trump and the people around him break the law and do it the same. You know, we've got now texts missing in various locations in government, and always the same missing texts: the fifth, the sixth. And we're led to believe or think, or we're asked to think, it's a coinky dink.
Well, these things happen with the onboarding of new technology and the communications protocols and telecommunications equipment rollout that the Secret Service was doing at the time due to instabilities in the prior system. Texts get lost.
And besides, it was a planned clean. It was
Wink,
planned.
wink.
Oh, and by the way, we forgot and didn't realize that we were being requested to keep the text messages. Unbelievable. And I don't know how any of these people can keep their job, Aaron, because to me, that's what should happen, is they should lose their jobs and never be able to work for the government again. For this kind of behavior, when they do something that literally, it doesn't matter whether they're doing anything wrong, in my opinion. It doesn't matter because they don't have to prove they did something wrong. As an employee of the government, you have a very high bar. It's like we talk about athletes that are, you know, they should know better, and we judge them a little more harshly than we would others. It's because of the position they're in. And these people are holding public office, and they have to have the cleanest and most honest reputations. Any sign of dishonesty should not be tolerated. But when the president is a walking criminal, a dictionary on crimes, you can't help but be, you can't be surprised that others around him, need lawyers, and in some cases, private lawyers.
So, just something breaking. This actually just popped about 15 to 20 minutes ago. Alex Jones has been ordered to pay Sandy Hook parents more than $45 million in punitive damages.
There it is.
Just to put a nice little capper on that.
And that's just this case. There's other cases that have begun, and he has hundreds of millions of dollars. So, that account should be drained. I think he should be nothing.
Well, he's already filed for bankruptcy, so
before they took any of his money.
Yep.
And we all know that wasn't true because the text messages his lawyer said so.
And that does it for us, Frank.
Have a great day, Aaron. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
We'll see you
Thank you,
tomorrow.
Aaron Freeland. We'll see you again. Yeah, I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank live, Aaron, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching. Ciao for now.